A lot of times people say, change your mindset, think positive. Sometimes that just does not work. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Oni. If you are new here, this is Randomly Oni C. Thank you for joining me. So today I wanted to just talk about being overwhelmed or feeling overwhelmed and how to kind of get through that. Not necessarily get over it, but get through it. Let me just start off with talking about myself so that, you know, maybe you can relate. Right now in the season that I'm in, I am pregnant with my first baby. So I'm preparing to become a mother, and it'll happen literally kind of like overnight. And even being pregnant, just the process and the journey has been a little overwhelming, but not, I wouldn't say too bad. But as time has kind of gone, I find myself getting even more overwhelmed. And not even just the pregnancy, but just in general, just kind of like in life. I'm just thinking about, wow, okay, I need to do this. And also I'm thinking about here, my channel, you know, getting overwhelmed by, okay, I need to produce this amount of videos. I need to create this content. I need to be here. I need to reach out and try to do this, you know, okay. Also, you know, making sure that I still connect with my husband and making sure I connect with my family, my friends, and just overwhelmed, I think, by life in general, you know. And I don't know about you guys, but when I get overwhelmed, I just kind of like shut down. And not just shut down where I'm like quiet and I isolate myself, but I break down and I cry, or I get really anxious, or I get angry. And so I kind of like take it out on other people, and mostly my husband, because he's here and he has no idea of what's going on. And it's like you have no control. You're so overwhelmed that you have zero control of what's going on. Like you totally feel out of control. If you know what I mean, then let me know in the comments that you feel me, okay? And so that's kind of where I have been lately. And sometimes it's hard to talk to other people about it because you don't want to seem like you don't have things together. And it's kind of hard to admit that you are overwhelmed. More importantly, it is difficult to admit when you are overwhelmed because of you. And oftentimes that's what it is. We are so overwhelmed because of ourselves. It's not anything that anyone else has done, anyone else has said. Sometimes that is the case, but a lot of times we are so overwhelmed because of ourselves. We're overwhelmed because we're putting so much pressure on ourselves. We're overwhelmed because we're looking at other people and we're thinking, ugh, how the heck do they have life figured out and I don't? Oh my gosh, I am 45 years old and this 20-year-old over here has everything figured out. I am now overwhelmed. Oh my gosh, I am a mom to be and I have nothing prepared. I'm overwhelmed. Oh my gosh, I am a new college grad and I don't have a job yet. Oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed. You know, these are examples, these are things. Oh my gosh, I'm a newlywed and I didn't quite prepare for marriage and prepare for this. Oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed. Oh my gosh, I have to clean this. I have dishes. I have to pay bills. I have this, I have that. And you know, you begin to add things on more and more and more. You have these lists of things. You write out this to-do list. And once you reach the end, you look back over it and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna get through this? That's being overwhelmed. And like I said, oftentimes it's because we are doing that to ourselves. Sometimes it's just a matter of just, you know what? This to-do list that I have, let me crumble this up, because nothing's gonna get done because I'm overwhelming myself. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I'm overwhelmed, I am not productive. There's no way that I can be productive. If I do end up doing something, I'm not giving it my all because I'm so distracted. My mind is on the 10,000 things that I need to do, or people that I need to connect with, or whatever it is, whatever is causing me to be overwhelmed. And so for today, I just wanted to share a few things and a few ways to kind of help you navigate through that overwhelming spirit or that overwhelming time that you are experiencing or enduring. You are wanting to go to the next chapter in your life or the next phase in your life, and you don't quite know how to make that happen. Well, that's the thing. It's not really up to you. And what I mean by that is, How things are going to happen is not necessarily up to you. All you can control is you and what you're doing. And by you overwhelming yourself, you're not taking action. There's no way that you can overwhelm yourself and take action that's going to be beneficial for you. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? A lot of times people say, change your mindset, think positive. Sometimes that just does not work. That's just the reality. Let's just be real. Let's just be honest. I'm even guilty of telling other people that and saying that even in videos. You have to think positive, change your mindset. That's great. But sometimes you only thinking positive will only last but for so long. I can say, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be able to reach 100,000 subscribers. Well, me thinking positive is not gonna make that happen. I have to now put action behind that. And that means me not overwhelming myself with the specifics or the analytics or, oh my gosh, let me do what everybody else is doing so that I can get that. When you're operating based off of the overwhelming feelings, you tend to do things that will hurt you in the end. You may get some kind of reward immediately. You may see some kind of growth, but it will be a little bit of growth in comparison to the growth that you would get had you taken the time to just kind of relax and settle in. You know what I mean? So another example I would say is, okay, you just graduated from college and now the pressure is on. You have to start working because you have student loans. Or hey, you just are ready to move out of your parents' home, or you're ready to just move to the next phase of your life, and that means that you need to get a job. Well, let's just pump the brakes for a second and think about the big picture. You have had all of this time that you've been in school where you've had structure. Someone has said, okay, this is where you will be at this particular time and this and that, and you know what I mean? Now, all of a sudden you're thrown out there where you are forced to make decisions. It's better for you to kind of take your time than to rush into something and end up hurting yourself in the end. So I would say to try to rewire, if that makes sense. Instead of saying, oh, you know what? Yes, it's gonna happen for me. Like, oh, yes, I'm gonna get a job. You can say that, that's awesome. But take a minute to analyze what is it that you really want? What's causing you to be overwhelmed? Is it that you're overwhelmed about getting a job? Is it that you're overwhelmed because you're broke right now? Is it that you're overwhelmed because there are so many different people around you with their opinions and their thoughts and you feel pressured? Take a moment to figure out, where is this coming from? That's something that I've had to really work on. A lot of times when I feel overwhelmed, I think back and I'm like, wow, okay, I just spent a lot of time scrolling on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. I just spent a lot of time watching other people's lives. I just spent a lot of time looking at something that I feel like I want, that I feel is out of my league or whatever the case may be. It's an outward thing that I'm bringing in. Oftentimes it's us wanting to keep up with people or us wanting to keep up with a certain persona. We have made ourselves look a certain way and we have to keep up with that. We have to, there's a certain standard that we've set in order for us to live up to that and uphold that. There are certain things that we need to do that are not really like us. That's not really us. And you begin to become so overwhelmed, or you have taken on a lot more than you should have. And so my first thing would be to take a step back and just be still. Because and that's very difficult for a lot of us to do, because you feel like if I take a step back and I take a break, then I'm losing out. I'm not being productive. Well, when you really think about it, when you are so overwhelmed, you are not productive at all. You're just more like busy. You are anxious. You're just kind of doing things. You're all over the place, but you're not being productive at all. Just because you're moving, just because you're doing something doesn't mean that you're actually being productive. You know what I mean? So you're wasting time in essence. So that time that you've wasted pretty much doing nothing, you could have been taking time for yourself to just say, you know what, let me just take a minute here. It doesn't have to be a week or anything. It could be 30 minutes. After you have that feeling of being overwhelmed, say, okay, you know what, hold up, 30 minutes to myself. And then let's go. You know what I mean? Just little things like that. And I will say your mindset and thinking positive is great also, but you have to do more than just that. It's not enough to just think positive. It's not enough to just wish for things. You know, wishful thinking and wishes and all of that is cool. It's cool. But taking action is so much better. For you to really go out and do is so much better than you to just kind of wish, you know, on wishing up on a star. No, you know, let's be real. Let's be realistic. And I'm saying that because that's what I have been having to work on as well, and understanding why is it that I'm overwhelmed. And a lot of times it's pressure that I'm putting on myself, the pressure that I'm taking on that nobody even asked me to do. No one has even told me to do that. That's me telling myself. Another thing I would say is getting out, like in nature. And I talk about this all the time, but just getting out in nature and just feeling fresh air, getting fresh air, breathing in the fresh air, looking at the plants, looking at the flowers, and just appreciating what's around you, and finding gratitude in that. And you realize how small you are. Like when you go outside, literally just go outside and look up in the sky and just think about the fact that you are so small in the grand scheme of things. So all of the worries and all of the concerns and all of that you have is so small in the grand scheme of things. Will this really matter? Whatever I am overwhelmed over, or, you know, whatever is causing me to be overwhelmed, will this matter in long term? If it does matter, that's still fine. You know, that very well may be the case, because for most of us, it will matter. For me, I'm going to be a mother. That does matter. But in this moment right now, is there anything that I can do about it to change it? No, it's happening. But I can change me. I can change the way that I look at it. I can change my approach. You know, I can change what I do. And I can change my attitude towards it. You know, so another thing is exercising. A lot of times that's what we need, just to exercise, just to kind of get things out. So if it's running, if it's lifting weights, if it's doing yoga, you just need to do something to just get everything out, you know, something. Dance, anything to get things out. Drinking more water also, you know, and eating properly, because you need to fuel your body. A lot of times when I am personally just depleted, so I haven't really eaten, you know, I haven't taken care of myself like I need to, I begin to get anxious and overwhelmed. Then it's like, okay, wait, you haven't really eaten properly. You've been eating junk or not really drinking enough water. Let's try that. So sometimes it's just simple things. It doesn't even have to be drastic, big, huge, you know, changes, big things. And what I want to go back to is always remembering to take ownership. Like I said, a lot of times it's because of you. Like you being overwhelmed is because of the pressures and things that you put onto yourself. A lot of the things that we have in life and a lot of the things that bother us and cause us to be overwhelmed is because we've welcomed them in. We've invited them into our lives. No one else has done this, but we have. Even if it's a situation where someone else is causing you to be overwhelmed, you still have a choice if you want to deal with that person or not. You have a choice in how you handle them. You have a choice in, you know, what you allow. You know what I mean? Like I really hope that this makes sense to you guys. This week was like a true eye opener for me. I was so overwhelmed, I just could not function, and I text one of my friends and I said, hey, can you please pray for me? Like, I'm just really feeling overwhelmed. And prior to that, she sent me a sermon the day before, and I said, I'm gonna save it for later and watch it. And I forgot, and I did not watch it. Well, when I texted her the next day saying that I was overwhelmed, she asked me, did I watch the sermon? And I said, no, I haven't watched it yet. She said, well, can you forward it to this minute mark and at least watch from there? I watched it, and immediately he talked about being overwhelmed and basically saying, like, why is it that you're overwhelmed? You know, you're trying to take on things that you don't have to take on. The price was already paid for you. You know, somebody else has already made these sacrifices and done these things so that you wouldn't have to be overwhelmed. Why are you overwhelming yourself? And that's not necessarily the case for every situation, but a lot of times that's how it is. You know, we just really overwhelm ourselves and we don't have to. I know how I felt just feeling so overwhelmed, and it can get to the point to where you just like, I just want to give up. You know, I can't do this anymore. And that can really take you down a deep, dark hole and take you to a deep, dark place. And it's just not worth it at all. It's just not worth it. That's why I said, just take a moment for yourself before getting to that place. Because I just thinking about that, I don't want anybody to experience that or to feel that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a great feeling. We all have been there. We all have felt overwhelmed before. I think the key is taking a moment to and for yourself. Analyzing, why am I overwhelmed? What's causing me to be overwhelmed? And how can I eliminate this? If I cannot eliminate this, how can I redirect? You know, how can I approach this differently? Whatever it is, your job in particular, you know, most people can relate to this. You're so overwhelmed because you have so much to do there. And then on top of that, you still have your family. You know, on top of that, you have bills and everything. It's like, okay, first and foremost, what can I eliminate in this? Something has to give. Okay, I can't give up my job because I need it. So that's something that you are going to have to figure out how to make it work. I can't give up my kids. Okay, so let's figure out how we're gonna make that work. Every night when I come home, I have to cook. Okay, that's something that maybe we can change. Let me communicate with my spouse. Let me communicate with the sitter. Let me communicate with whoever is helping me in the home. You know, if there is someone to help. If not, hey, how can I better plan meals so that I'm not having to cook every single night? Meal prepping, you know, things like that. And I think one of the biggest things is that a lot of us, we desire that overwhelmed feeling. I know that you don't, not in particular that you desire being overwhelmed. You know, you're not literally saying, I want to be overwhelmed. But you're so used to that, like that's your normal. It's normal for you to be overwhelmed to the point to where you don't see anything else. You don't think that it's possible to not be overwhelmed. You don't think it's possible to be at peace. So you operate out of that dysfunction. That's the way that you're operating because you're so used to that. Change that. Like, you know what? I don't have to operate in this. I don't have to be overwhelmed. Like, I can figure it out. But the problem is that a lot of us don't want to put in the work to figure out how to get through this overwhelming feeling because it is very difficult. It's not easy. It's easier for you to just stay overwhelmed and go and complain to your friend, telling them all the things that you have going on, and then they tell you something, you feel good for a few minutes, and then you get off the phone and cry, and it's just the same cycle over and over and over again. That's your normal. That's your new normal, you know, in essence. It takes having the right people in your life, for one. And it takes you, most important. I should have said that one first. It takes you. You have to have that no nonsense feeling of like, you know what, this is not ideal right now. I am unhappy. I am miserable. I'm so overwhelmed. But this is not going to be me. Like, I can't have this. I can't live my life this way forever. And it's not enough for me to just say that. It's not enough for me to continue to say that I'm so overwhelmed and do nothing. I'm ready to take action. I'm going to take action. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. You may need to list it out. You may need to sit down and record yourself saying it. You may need to talk to someone else and tell them your action plan so that they can hold you accountable. Whatever it is, either way, you have to do it. And that's the thing with just anything in general, I believe. You know, it's you. And that's one of the things that I have had to learn and understand for myself. Like, I'm responsible. You know, when I get overwhelmed, I get into this thing where I'm overwhelmed by one thing. I've started off where I'm overwhelmed because, okay, for example, if I'm cleaning up and I decide to clean the whole place, I'm overwhelmed by the thought that I have all of this to clean up. That's my fault because I've thought of all of this stuff. Instead of me saying I'm just gonna do one thing at a time and just do it, I'm now thinking about, okay, the bathroom, the clothes, this and that. And then now I'm also thinking about, oh, well, tomorrow I have this, I have that. And I'm putting more and more and more on myself. and I'm making it so much harder for myself. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that like the overwhelming feelings are gonna just go away and like they're never gonna come back, that you will just be totally good. And even for me, that I will never be overwhelmed again. No. But I think as you learn how to deal with your overwhelming feelings, as you learn how to deal with those pressures and all of that, it just makes it so much easier on you the next time something like this happens to arise, you know, happens to come about. So the next time that you're feeling overwhelmed, you can think back, okay, when I was overwhelmed a week ago, this is what I did and this is what helped me. So let me try that this time. When I say to take a minute, I'm not saying to escape. I'm not saying to leave, because you can't. There's no way that you can just leave that overwhelming feeling, put it to the side. It's still gonna be there. I'm just saying, take a moment for yourself to breathe. Take a moment to just kind of get focused and centered. Because sometimes when we're so overwhelmed, it can take us over the edge and it takes us to a totally different place. And we're trying to figure out, man, how the heck did I even get here? Like, I don't even know what has happened. And you know, you tend to do things that you will regret. Whether it's you talking to someone crazy, you can be in the car and you're so overwhelmed that you end up getting into a wreck. You know, you could hurt someone, you could hurt yourself. You end up breaking up with someone that you shouldn't break up with. You can end up hurting someone's feelings and you can't take that back. You know, you can end up physically hurting yourself and you can't take that back, hurting someone else. You know, there's just so many things. You can end up being so overwhelmed that you're like, I just need a quick fix to get out of this, and you become addicted to something. I mean, you know, none of that is worth it. You know, when you think about it like that, none of that is worth it. It's not worth it. You're jeopardizing your peace, your sanity, you're jeopardizing your growth. You are keeping all of the good from coming into your life, in essence. You know, when I feel so overwhelmed, I kind of assess where I am. And I always find that I'm spending more time like on social media and less time with myself, less time with the people that I love. I'm a bit more anxious and short with the people that I love, and I'm avoiding them more. And also, I'm not spending a lot of time with God. You know, I haven't prayed as often. I haven't really listened to like music that really feeds the soul. I haven't been reading my Bible app, like doing my devotionals. So I'm detached from my source, and that's my source. You know what I mean? Like, I know that there are a lot of people who have different beliefs, and you know, I don't take away from anybody else because that's what you do. So whatever your source is, sometimes when you are so disconnected from your source, when I say source, I mean your source of inspiration, your source of love, your source of peace, all of that. When you're disconnected from that, you're connecting to something else. What is it that you're connecting to? And whatever it is, that can be causing you to feel a lot more overwhelmed. But ultimately, it's still a choice that you've made. For me, every day I make a choice to pick up my phone, and I have a choice to either go to my Bible app or call a family member or a friend and connect with them, or click Instagram and scroll. That's a choice. So ultimately, what happens after I make that choice, it's on me. I have to be willing to deal with whatever result I get from either one. And so one may cause me to be overwhelmed. And sometimes even talking to a family friend can cause so much stress and you become so overwhelmed because of their situation or whatever the case may be. And if that's the case, then you know what, hey, today's not the day. Right now, I just can't talk. Or you don't even have to say anything. Learning how to say no, or just not responding or not answering or not feeling pressured to pick up the phone and to do certain things, you know, out of obligation is so underrated. You know, like, people don't talk about that enough. It's okay for you to say no. It's okay for you to not answer the phone. It's okay for you to disconnect from any person or thing that is causing you to become overwhelmed. You know, I want good for everybody, and that pressure and the overwhelming feelings and all of that, it keeps the good out and it brings the bad in, you know. And thinking positive and all of that is great, but it's not enough. We have to take action. So that's my pledge, to take action, and I hope that you take the pledge with me. So that's it for this video. If you guys felt that, let me know down in the comments. Let me know what you guys get overwhelmed about. Let's talk about it. Let me know what you are doing to work through that and, come out better on the other side. As always, continue to do things that matter and keep it random. I will see you all in the next video.